Thank you, Mr. Parrish. We will now move to questions, and I yield myself 5 minutes first. A September 2022 OIG report detailed issues with Buy American Act compliance at Regional Procurement Office Central. The report found that, quote, contracting officers did not always meet the intent and requirements of the Buy American Act because of insufficient oversight and training. The OIG found over half of sampled contracts and associated files contained evidence of noncompliance with the Buy American Act and associated laws, regulations, and policies. Dr. Billups, what has the VA done to correct this?
VA actually started working on the Buy American Act and trying to make some corrections because we actually received a similar finding in the 2018 timeframe from GAO. One of the one of the things that we did at that time, we established some new training. In addition to establishing the new training, we did a stand-down day to say 100% of the workforce needed to attend the training, and the BAA was part of that training at that time. But some of the things that we also did at the end of that going into 2020, we did a compliance review so that we could see how we were doing. And we did find that we were not doing as well as we had hoped to do. So you fast forward to 2021, when IIJA was passed, some of the things that we did then, we took all of the information that we had learned from the previous updating of the training, as well as helping people to understand what are the things they should do. We implemented some new guidance. We put some tools into the guidance so that they would know the things they needed to think about when they were making these purchases. In addition to that, at the beginning of FY23, all of the information that we had learned, we established an innovation lab where there was participation across all of the buying activities. Everyone had to have a representative in that innovation lab so that we could all understand what are the problems, what are the things that we need to do. We implemented those things in the 2023 timeframe, and we're already scheduling a lessons learned as it relates to the Buy American Act, IIJA, the changes for FY24. The planning started for that in September, and of course we'll let the buyers get through the end of the fiscal year, and we will start that new innovation lab. Hopefully we'll learn something today that will also be useful for that purpose.
Great. Could you share some of what those lessons learned were? Do you have maybe a few top 3 or 4?
Some of them was that people just did not understand like in the Buy American Act itself. So much of a percentage of the materials, and those percentage of those materials have changed over the years now that there are emphasis on Buy American. So they didn't understand the difference between the manufacture in America and the component piece, and putting those two things together, they didn't really understand what they were looking at. Some of the other areas was sometimes people would look at the Trade Agreements Act and the Buy American Act, and there was some confusion between those two acts. Then you turn around and throw IIJA on top of that, which is a little different from even Buy American, and 100% components, 100% manufacturing. So we continuously reach out. I have my compliance group to just look at all of the different awards that we're making so that we can make sure we are following, and when we find there's a compliance issue, we immediately reach out to those heads of those contracting activities.
Some continuous training, it sounds like, and
yes.
Oversight. So I'm glad to hear the VA is taking the issue seriously. However, the Make PPE in America Act went into effect 18 months ago and brought about significant changes to how we buy PPE. I'm concerned the VA's past issues complying with the Buy American Act don't bode well for the Make PPE in America Act implementation. So, Mr. Parrish, has your office published any guidance on the Make PPE in America Act yet?
Ma'am, let me go back to, if I can respond also to your previous question, just other data points so you're aware is we've submitted for closure those open items to the OIG as far as the training, and we've also had ongoing training. As we said, we just had our nationwide, enterprise-wide acquisition workforce summit where Made in America training was reinforced, was retrained there. So when it comes to the PPE Made in America Act compliance, let me pass that off to Mr. Centennial, and he could talk more specifically about that.
So thank you for that question. Excuse me. So for Make in America, as was discussed earlier, in April we met with all of our federal partners. We engaged with industry. over 600 participants were in the event with the federal and the industry partners that were there. We have continuous outreaches. We have biweekly engagements with those folks that are actually vendors, suppliers, and manufacturers with the VA. So we continue to have that outreach every 2 weeks with our programs that are within the Medical Surgical Prime Vendor Program, which was mentioned earlier. But then the larger purview is the PPE industry. In the PPE industry, we've got about 1,500 products for our product list that we are expanding to look at. We have inputted and we've asked for self-certification, which we have received. 109 products on our product list self-certified by vendors to say that they are 100% made in America. We continue to have an outreach every single time, and we let our folks know if there's a product that's out there, please let us know, because we want to move in the direction where industry is so that we are absolutely compliant with that. And as was mentioned earlier in some of the opening remarks, this is a decades-long challenge, so industry realizes it, and they are leaning towards us the same way we are leaning to them to be partners in this.
My time has expired, so thank you very much.